Good afternoon. Today we are going to continue our course in computer vision, and in this week we are going to learn about the object detection using YOLO, or YOLO stands for you only look once. Yeah. No, no, no. So actually, yeah, we is there anyone that know about the YOLO stands for? What is it? YOLO in computer vision, yeah? Okay, so actually YOLO is you only look once, yeah, that's right. YOLO stands for you only look once. So why we should use YOLO? Because there are some problem in computer vision that we need to solve, yeah, that problem using object detection algorithm. And there are a lot of object detection algorithm outside YOLO. We also have the Haar cascade, yeah, for example. Haar cascade is the object detection method for detecting the object, yeah. And actually, in computer vision, in OpenCV, we also be able to use the Haar cascade for detecting the face, yeah, face detection in OpenCV if we use the Haar cascade. But actually, there are a newer version of the object detection algorithm, which is YOLO. YOLO stands for you only look once, yeah, you only look once. And the current version of the YOLO is version 7. The newest version and the current version of YOLO is version 7. And that's why in this course, yeah, we will use the current version of the YOLO, which is YOLO V7. And yeah, the problem that we want to solve in this course, yeah, it's actually in YOLO algorithm is for detecting the object. Detecting the object is different with the classifying the image, yeah, because we assume that in one image there are more than one object. That's why we use the object detection algorithm. For example, we want to detect the the cars, yeah, the cars in an image, or maybe the animal in an image, and inside our image we have more than one object, yeah. For example, we capture the image of the zoo, maybe, yeah, and there are a lot of animal in the image, yeah. Then we want to detect each animal in that image. So we better to use the object detection algorithm. Okay, and yeah, the object detection problem is also the hottest topic, yeah, in research, in computer vision research area. There are a lot of research that use the YOLO and use others object detection method, yeah. And as far as I know, and I also read from the current research in object detection, YOLO is the best algorithm right now. So that's why we will learn about the YOLO. Okay, is there any students in this class that use YOLO, or maybe the topic that you want to solve in your final project or TA maybe is the object detection problem? I mean, for detecting the object. Is there any students in this class? Okay, Rania, only Rania. Okay, okay, yeah. So actually, object detection using YOLO is not the hard the hard algorithm to implement, because there are a lot of tutorial, yeah, in internet, yeah, that use the YOLO, yeah, for detecting the object. So if you use the YOLO as your algorithm for detecting the object, I recommend you, I recommend you if you have a problem in object detection problem. So I recommend you to use YOLO because there are a lot of tutorial in the internet that use the YOLO for detecting the object. Yeah. Okay, for the outline for our course today, we will learn about what is the object detection. Actually, I was mentioning earlier, and what is YOLO framework, and the last one, we will implement the object detection using YOLO in Python. So that's what we will learn today. The practical implementation, we will try to use some public data set in internet that use the object detection using YOLO. Okay, what is the object detection? Like I was mentioning before, we have a different meaning about the image classification and object detection. Image classification is the task of predicting the class of the object in the image. For example, an image classification network trained to classify decks of cards, or maybe to differentiate between an image of cat versus dog. Like we were do before, before the midterm exam, we classify the image of cat and dog, and we assume that in one image only contain one object. So that's why we use the image classification. And for the object detection is the task of identifying the location of the object as well as the class of the object in the image. The object in the image is enclosed in a rectangular box indicating the class of the object as well. So here you can see that the image classification, we assume that in our image it only contains one object, which is cat, in this case. But for the object detection, for example, this one, in our image we have three animals. This is not a real animal, right? It's a duck, it's a duck, it's a cat, and this is a dog. We have more than one object in our image dataset. So to classify the object inside our image, which contains more than one object, we better use the object detection algorithm. And what about YOLO? What is YOLO? YOLO, as that stands for you only look once, it is an object detection system in real time that recognizes various objects in a single enclosure. Moreover, it identifies objects more rapidly and more precisely than other recognition systems. Like I was mentioning before, the YOLO algorithm is the best algorithm for detecting the object. But YOLO require a lot of computational cost, because we need to prepare our environment to run the YOLO algorithm, and YOLO is the one of the algorithm that require high computational cost. So if you use YOLO, I recommend you to run the YOLO algorithm in computer that utilize the GPU, graphical processing unit. Luckily in Google Colab, we can use the GPU for our computation. So that is enough for if we only use the Google Colab to run the YOLO algorithm. Okay, as you can see here, we have the comparison between YOLO algorithm and other object detection algorithm. We have YOLO version 7. This is our this is the current version of the YOLO, and we will use the YOLO version 7. And there are other algorithm here, YOLO R, PPI OLOE, YOLO X, Scale YOLO version 4, and YOLO version 5. As you can see here, we have x-axis and y-axis. X-axis it means the inference time, the time that used for detecting the object, the inference time, and the y-axis represent the average precision, average precision. As you can see here, YOLO require less time and get a better average performance if we compare with any other object detection algorithm. Okay, as you can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 different object detection algorithm, yeah. And as you can see here, we have YOLO. YOLO is the best algorithm that has the best average precision, and this is not the best algorithm that require less time. Yeah, actually we have the, yeah, this is the YOLO, yeah, the YOLO, and we have scale YOLO version 5, version 4. I mean, so yeah, actually YOLO version 7 is the best algorithm that has a best average precision and require less time, yeah, if you compare with any other algorithm. Okay, so actually this one actually is also YOLO, yeah, YOLO and YOLO. Okay. Okay, how does the YOLO work? Yeah, because the object detection algorithm, which is YOLO, yeah, has some steps, yeah, to identifying the object or to detecting the object. Yeah, so we will start from how does the YOLO work in training process. Yeah. Okay, as you can see here, in this case, yeah, we want to detect the car object in our image, right? So YOLO first takes an input image. Yeah, it's like a regular image classification algorithm or any object detection algorithm. Yeah, it takes the input image, and as you can see here, we have two different cars here, right? And we want to build the framework. Yeah, we want to detect the object, yeah, of the car. As you can see here, we have two different cars. Yeah, then we want to detect these two cars. First, yeah, the YOLO will divide the input image into grids. So actually, it's not always 3 times 3 grid. Yeah, it can be 5 times 5, or maybe 5 times 10, or 100 times 100. It depends on uh, the parameter that we will use. So actually, for better understanding, yeah, we will only use a 3 times 3 grid. So we will divide our image into 9 different boxes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So first thing that we need to do in YOLO algorithm, we will divide our image into 9 different parts. Yeah, it depends on the grid that we state. Yeah, and in this case, we use the 3 times 3 grids. That's why we have 9 different box, yeah, or parts in our image. Okay, so the next step, yeah. So the next step, we need to pass the label data to the model in order to train it. Suppose we have divided the image into grid of size 3 times 3, and there are a total of 3 classes. For example, we have 3 different classes here. Yeah, 3 different classes which we want the object to be classified into. Let's say we want to detect the not only car, but also pedestrian and motorcycle. For example, this one, in this case, we want to detect 3 different objects: pedestrian, car, or motorcycle, respectively. So for each grid cell, the label Y will be an 8-dimensional vectors. Yeah, it's different with our image classification algorithm, which is we only have one Y, right? The output of the image classification algorithm is only one, right? The label itself. But in object detection algorithm, we have 8 different output for the Y. So the Y will be a vector or an array, one-dimensional array. So what is it? We have PC, BX, BY, BH, BW, C1, C2, and C3. So we have 8 different output here. Yeah. So what is the meaning of each output? Yeah, we start from the PC. PC defines whether an object is present in the grid or not. It is the probability. So the range, or maybe the PC will be 1 or 0. 1, it means we have an object, right? So the first thing that we need to do in object detection algorithm, yeah, we will give the bounding box first. Yeah, to give the label in our image, we need to give the bounding box. For example, this one, yeah, we have two different bounding box here. Right? The red rectangle here, we can say this is the car and this is the car. So, for example, this one, if we give the bounding box in the object inside our image, then the PC will be 1, right? The PC will be 1. Yeah, PC defines whether an object is present in the grid or not. It is present on the grid or not, because we give the bounding box into this area and in this area, and we say that this is the car object and it is also the car object. That's why the PC will be 1, right? Px, Py, Ph, and Pw specify the bounding box if there is an object. So it means the location, the location of the bounding box. Okay, I will give an annotation here. So we have 2 points here, this one and in this one. All right. Oh, wait a minute. I will this one and in this one. So it means Px, Py, Ph, and Pw specify the bounding box if there is an object. Wait. XY, HW. This one and this one. Okay. I will give you an example after this, yeah. What is the meaning of Px, Py, Ph, and Pw? As far as I know, this one is represent the location of the bounding box, yeah. Okay, wait a minute. I will explain to you in the next slide, yeah. Okay, C1, C2, and C3 represent the classes. So if the object is a car, C2 will be 1, C1 and C3 will be 0, and so on. So I mean, for this example, yeah, we have the car object and we give the bounding box on the car object. So the C1 will be 0. C1 represent pedestrian, C2 represent the car, and C3 represent the motorcycle. If the object inside our bounding box is a car, then the C2 values will be 1, and the C1 and C3 will be zeros. And if the object inside our bounding box is the pedestrian, then the C1 will be 1, C2 will be 0, and C3 will be 0. Inside our bounding box, we assume that only contain one object. We cannot have the bounding box, yeah. The object inside the bounding box cannot be more than one object. Wait. Okay. Okay, so I will explain to you about the meaning of Px, Py, Ph, and Pw in the next slides, yeah, because I think it is easier for you to understand if we have an example. Okay, so the first thing that you need to know about the PC represent the probability of the object, yeah. The bounding box contain an object, so it can be 1 or zeros, right? Okay. Yeah, let's say we select the grid from the above example, then yeah, because there is no object, yeah, there is no object inside this grid. That's why this values, the PC will be 0, right? The PC will be 0 because there is no object inside this grid area. So, for example, this one, every bounding box, yeah, every grid will contain the Y values. Y, and so on and so on. So it means every grid area will has the Y outputs, right? So my question is, how many Y inside our image here? Because we have 9 different grid, right? So how many Y that we have? 9 Ys, right? Every Y contain 8 values. So the output, the output of this image, will contain an array which has 9 times X values, which is 72. So the number of the output, will be 72 values, right? Because every every grid in our image has 8 values, right? Okay. So for example, this one, because there is no object inside this area. Yeah, there is no object inside this area, and then the PC will be 0. Yeah. What about the others values here? Yeah. The question mark means that it doesn't matter what Px, Py, Ph, Pw, C1, C2, and C3 contain, as there is no object in the grid. And let's take another grid in which we have a car. For example, C2. C2, this one is the C2. Since there is an object in this grid, PC will be equal to 1. Px, Py, Ph, and Pw will be calculated relative to the particular grid cell we are dealing with. Since car is the second class, C2 will be 1, and we will have an 8-dimensional output vectors. This output will have the shape of 3 times 3 times 8, like I was mentioning before, the output will have a shape of 3 times 3 times x, which is 72, right? Any question? So every grid will contain 8 values, so this one will contain 8 values, so my question is, if I have this one, my question is, what is the PC values C1, C2, and C3? What do you think? Yeah, we can just skip Px, Py, Ph, and Pw, we will discuss it in a second. But my question is, if we have in this grid, the output will be, any idea? The Y will be Y-nya apa isinya kira-kira? PC-nya, the value of PC 1. Okay, that's right. 1. Okay, so we can just skip Px, Py, Ph, and Pw, you can just skip it. What about the C1? 0, C2 1, C3 0. Okay, so this is the output for this particular grid, right? And it will be the same with this area, this grid. It will have the output like this. That's why, because every grid in our image will contain a vector with 8 values, 8 values. That's why on the next slide, this output will have a shape of 3 times 3 times 8, because we have 3 times 3 different grid. Every grid has 8 values. So the output will be the vector which has a 3 times 3 times x shape. Okay, so now we have an input image and its corresponding target vector. Using the above example, the input image is 100 times 100 times 3. The output will be 3 times 3 times x. And the input image is still the same with our image classification algorithm, which is the input image itself, the image itself that we want to classify or detect the object inside it. And the output, the different things in object detection algorithm and image classification algorithm, it's about the output. The output is the matrix, we can say that this is the matrix and it different with image classification algorithm, which is the output only a scalar, yeah. It is the label, yeah. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. So the input image is 100 times 100 times 3. We have a CNN layer, max pooling layer, CNN layer again, max pooling layer again, and the output is 3 times 3 times X. Yeah. So what kind of the CNN layer inside this YOLO version 7? So this one, yeah. We have an architecture here, right? That contains CNN layer and max pool layer. It's the same convolutional process or pooling process in CNN. But actually, in YOLO version 7, I can say that there are more complex CNN layer inside CNN layer inside the pooling layer. We have a, let's say that we have an architecture, an architecture that has a more complex algorithm or more complex process, to detecting the object. And in this course, we will not discuss in more detail about the CNN layer and max pooling layer, because you know that I can say that there are more than 50 layers in CNN layer and pooling layer in YOLO version 7. So let's say that we have the CNN layer and pooling layer in the YOLO, and we will not discuss it in more detail because it contains a lot of CNN layer and pooling layer. And we have an output here. We have an output, which is the vectors, or the matrix, 3 times 3 times X. And the dimension or the shape of the output is not a scalar but a vector. Okay. Okay, how to encode the bounding boxes? Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we have Px, Py, Ph, and Pw are calculated relative to the grid cell we are dealing with. Let's understand this concept with an example. Consider the center right grid which contains a car. So we have the center of these cars in this position. Let's say that we have a center here, right? Okay, because every bounding box has the center, right? Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, the PC equal 1 since there is an object in this grid, and since it is a car, C2 equal 1 because there is an object inside this grid area. Now let's see how to decide Px, Py, Ph, and Pw. In YOLO, the coordinates assigned to all the grids are 0, 0, and 1, 1. So we talk about one particular grid here, which is the top left corner will be 0, 0, and the bottom right corner is 1, 1. Px and By are the x and y coordinates of the midpoint of the object with respect to this grid. In this case, it will be around 0, 4 and 0, 3. Okay, what is the coordinate of the, let's say, Px and By are the x and y coordinates of the midpoint of the object with respect to this grid. In this case, it will be around 0.4 and 0.3. So it means this one, the position of this midpoints, it's around 0, 4 and 0, 3. For the x is 0, 4. Why 0, 4? Let's say we have a line here. This is the line, right? The line. And the x coordinate, the x coordinate will be this one, right? Sorry, this one is not the x coordinate, but y coordinate. This one. Okay. Let's say in this position, because this one, if we have a line with this long, it will be 1, but it will be 0, 4, if we yeah, it's just yeah, prediction. Yeah, so it means it's around 0.4, and the py will be with, I think this is more easier if we put this position. Yeah, this one I will give another color here with a green color. This one, this is for the x coordinate, and this one is the y coordinate, right? So what is the position of this midpoint? It will be 0,3, sorry, 0,4, 0,3, right? It starts from the top, yeah, not the bottom. Okay. And BH is the ratio of the height of the bounding box, red box in the above example, to the height of the corresponding grid cell, which in our case is around 0,9. Yeah. So BH will be 0,9, and BW is the ratio of the width of the bounding box. Okay, so this one, yeah, let's say that this one has the ratio 0.9, yeah, because yeah, we have the line of the grid, it's in this position. So if we draw a line in with this width, maybe, yeah, it's around 0,9. And what about 0,5? It is the width, yeah, the width approximately around 0.5. Okay, I think I will give you a better explain, yeah. So wait. Okay, if I have yeah, if I have a grid like this, yeah, then we have the object, yeah. Let's say we have an object in this position. The object is, let's say this is the object, yeah. This is the object. This is the object that we want to detect, yeah. Then first that we need to do is drawing a bounding box, right? The bounding box. So this is the bounding box, right? This is the bounding box. Let's say this is a car, yeah. Let's assume that this is the car. Then we draw a bounding box here. This is the bounding box. Yeah. Then we have a midpoint here. We have a midpoint. We have a midpoint in this position. So my question is, yeah, what is the values of Px and Py? Yeah, we can just calculating, yeah, this one and this one. So the Px will be the ratio of this line compare with this line. Jadi paham ya, ini sebetulnya ini Px, ya. Let's say we have a Px here. Px, ya, will be the ratio of this line if we compare with this line, because we have a grid right here, right? Okay, so let's say that we have we compare with the ratio of this line with this line, with. Nah, jadi sebetulnya rasio antara ini posisi titik midpoint-nya dengan posisi garis atasnya ini. What about the Py? Yeah, the Py, let's say that this is Px, yeah. This is the Px and this is a Py. Okay, Px and Py. So my question is, can you just imagine or maybe, ya, kira-kira menurut Anda ini Bx sama By-nya itu rasionya berapa? So this is the object, ya. Objeknya ini ya, objeknya ya. Objeknya jajar genjang ini objeknya. Objek. Oke, kira-kira Bx sama By-nya berapa ini? Kita belum bicara Bh and Bw-nya ya. But only the Bx and By. So what is the ratio of px ya, if you compare with the top line. 0,3 mungkin? Ya, 0,3 ya. So the px is 0,3. What about the py? Py-nya berapa? 0,4 mungkin ya? 0,4 ya. Ini kan by-nya ini kita compare dengan ini, gitu ya. Kalau bx-nya ini kita compare dengan ini, karena we have a grid like this, right? We have a grid, then we compare the px with the px with the width and py with the height, right? Okay. What about the ph and pw? So we have others values here. We have ph and pw. ph and pw. ph, it means the ratio of this line, yeah, of this line with this line. With this line. Nah, rasio ini dengan ini. Atau gini, saya kasih warna beda saja. Warna pink aja. Rasio antara ini dengan ini. Dengan ini, ya. Kira-kira berapa rasionya? So what is the ratio between the pH and the height of the grid? Yeah, let's say we have around 0.5 ya. 0.5. Oh no 0.5 ya. It's too terlalu tinggi gak ya? Atau 0.45 ya. 0.45, and the PW will be the ratio between the width, yeah, the width of this object, yeah, of the bounding box with the width of the grid, right? Berapa ini kira-kira? Oke, sama ya, 0,45 ya, 0.45. Bisa dipahami atau enggak? Bisa ya. So we have px values, py values, ph, and pw for this particular grid, yeah. Because there are more than one grid, yeah, in our image. It depends on the parameter that we set. Yeah, because yeah, it is we use a simple example, because if we have a lot of grid, yeah, it will be hard for us to understand. So that's why we only use 9 different grids, yeah. So for example, yeah, I have an image, yeah. I have an image. Wait. I have an image, yeah, that has 4 times 4 different grids. Yeah. And we have 4 classes here. We have 5 classes. So the output, the shape of the output will be outputnya kira-kira shape-nya berapa? Kalau saya punya gambar terus saya setting grid-nya itu 4x4. Anyone? So yeah, we have PC, ya, PC, dan PX, PY, PH, and PW, dan C1, ya, C1, C2, C3, and C4, ya. We have the output for each grid, yeah, it contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the output of this image, ya, will be berapa kira-kira? 4 kali 4 kali kok 5? Kok 10? Tuh, kelasnya 5 ya ya. Oh ya, tadi kalau gitu nggak ngantuk ya. 5. Sorry 10 ya. Nah, oke. C1, C2, C3, and C4 ya. And C5 ya, C5. Oke. Nah, jadi tiap satu image itu outputnya menjadi vektor dengan ukuran 16 kali 10 ya. Nah, 16 kali 10. Jadi apa namanya, kalau kita menggunakan YOLO itu outputnya berupa vektor ya. Berupa vektor. Atau biasanya kalau nanti kita implementasikan di TensorFlow ya, the output will be 1 times 16 160 ya. Jadi outputnya nanti kan ini ukurannya 4 kali 4 kali 10, tapi nanti biasanya kita akan we will flattening di output ya. So we will change the matrix into a vector. So the final shape of the vector will be 1 times 160. Yeah, and that's why the computational cost between the YOLO and CNN is different So the computational cost is much more higher in YOLO if you compare with the CNN for image classification. Okay. Okay, we can just go to the next slide But don't worry about this concept because if we want to use the YOLO, we can just for my experience I only requires around 15 lines of code. 50 lines of code to implement the YOLO. If you don't believe it, we will prove it. Only 5 lines of code 5 lines of code to implement the YOLO because the framework is powerful and we can just use it easily. Okay, notice that here that bx and by will always range between 0 and 1 as the midpoint will always lie within the grid, whereas bh and bw can be more than 1 in case the dimension of the bounding box are more than the dimension of the grid. Okay, what about if okay, we will discuss it after this we need to know about the intersection of a union. Here's some food for thought how can we decide whether the predicted bounding box is giving us a good outcome or a bad one? This is where intersection of a union comes into the picture. It calculates the intersection of a union of the actual bounding box and the predicted bounding box. Consider the actual and predicted bounding boxes for a car as shown below. So one of the method for assessing the performance of our object detection algorithm is intersection of a union or IOU IOU is for assessing our object detection algorithm has a good performance or not. For example, this one we have predicted the purple rectangle the purple bounding box it is the predicted value, the predicted bounding box from our YOLO or from our object detection algorithm, and the box the red rectangle represent the actual object position So how to define the performance of our object detection algorithm? Here the red box is the actual bounding box and the blue box or purple box is the predicted one. How can we decide whether it is good prediction or not? IOU or intersection of a union will calculate the area of the intersection of a union of these two boxes, and the area will be IOU equal area of the intersection. Area of the intersection, like you see here, inside this area, the yellow area. This is the area of the intersection, and divided by area of the union. Area of the union, which is the green area. So we will calculate between the area of the intersection divided by area of the union, which is the yellow area divided the white area of the yellow area divided the white area of the green area. So that's how to calculate the intersection over union. So my question, if we have a high IOU values, so the object detection algorithm has a good performance or not? What do you think? If we have a high IOU values, then the performance of our object detection algorithm is good or not? What do you think? Kalau semakin tinggi IOU-nya, maka semakin bagus atau semakin jelek? Hah? Makin bagus. Bisakah IOU itu nilainya lebih dari 1? Hah? No. No? Okay. Yeah. If IOU is greater than 0.5, we can say that the prediction is good enough. Yeah. The higher values of the IOU, it will give us a better prediction. Yeah. Yeah. 0.5 is an arbitrary threshold. Yeah. So it means, yeah, it depends on the threshold that we want to set. Yeah. 0.5 is an arbitrary threshold we have taken here, but it can be changed according to your specific problem. Intuitively, the more you increase the threshold, the better the predictions become, ya. Oke, ya, jadi ya kalau semakin besar IO-nya ya semakin bagus harusnya ya. Karena kan dia kalau kita punya bounding box yang itu yang areanya itu pas dengan ini ya, pas dengan apa ini? Real apa tadi bilangnya? The actual bounding box ya. Kalau pas benar-benar pas ya nilainya bakalan 1 ya. Karena kan hijau sama kuningnya sama-sama areanya kan sama-sama besar. Oke. Okay, any question before we continue to the next slide? Okay, if you have any question, if you don't have any question, so we continue to the next slide. Yeah. So non-max suppression. What is non-max suppression? There is one more technique that can improve the output of the YOLO significantly, which is non-max suppression. One of the most common problems with object detection algorithms is that rather than detecting an object just once, they might detect it multiple times. Consider the below image. So actually, if we use the YOLO or any object detection algorithm, it will predict more than one object inside our image. For example, this one. Jadi ini kan bisa jadi nanti outputnya itu banyak ya. Ini sebetulnya niatnya ya, niat dari algoritma YOLO itu mau memberi bounding box di image ini, tapi ternyata dia bisa jadi di sini. Atau ini ya, bisa jadi dia di sini atau di sini. Jadi sebetulnya kalau kita di YOLO ya, actually in YOLO algorithm, yeah, the output will be one bounding box, but in the process of the YOLO training, in YOLO training process, it will predict more than one. It will give us more than one bounding box for detecting one object. Jadi bisa jadi waktu training proses itu nanti YOLO-nya itu memprediksinya lebih dari satu bounding box. Seperti ini. Yeah. It first looks at the probabilities associated with each detection and takes the largest one. In the above image, 0.9 is the highest probability. So the box with 0.9 probability will be selected first ya. Jadi kan gini, ini nanti outputnya itu waktu training proses dia itu akan membandingkan ya. Jadi ini ada yang di sini, ada yang di sini gitu kan ya. Nah ini dalam proses training sebetulnya ya. Dari dataset training itu dia akan memprediksi. Nah, kalau prediksinya yang pertama ini ada 0,8 ya probability-nya. Terus ini 0,7, ini 0,6, ini 0,9, 0,7 ya. Pastinya kita akan memilih yang paling tinggi dulu kan ya. It first look at the probabilities associated with each detection and takes the largest one. In the above image ya, 0.9 is the highest probability. So the box with 0.9 probability will be selected first, yeah. Because we have more than one bounding box, yeah, which contain more than one PC values, yeah. The PC values for this bounding box is 0.7, 0.8, yeah, 0.6, yeah. And the first step, we will look at the bounding box that has the highest PC values, which is 0.9. Now it looks at all the other boxes in the image. The boxes which have the high IOU with the current box are suppressed. So the boxes with a 0.6 and 0.9, 0.7 probabilities will be suppressed in our example. Jadi gini, the second step, ya, after we deciding the highest bounding box that has the highest PC values, ya. So any other bounding box, ya, that has high IOU with the current box are suppressed. Jadi kan ini sebetulnya bounding box yang ini sama 0,6 sama 0,7 ini kan punya IOU, ya, dengan bounding box yang punya probability yang paling besar di sini kan, ya. Jadi bounding box yang punya PC 0.7 sama 0.6 ini kita akan suppress. Suppress itu apa? Dihilangkan. Nah, berapa IOU yang kita tentukan? Nah, itu threshold juga. Oke. Nah, after the boxes have been suppressed, ya, it selects the next box from all the boxes with the highest probability, which is 0.8, ya, in our case. Setelah yang ini kan tadi 0,7 sama 0,6 kita hapus, ya. Jadi yang tersisa, the remaining bounding box will be this bounding box and this bounding box, because this bounding box has the highest values of PC. Then the bounding box with the 0.7 pieces will be suppressed. Okay. Again, it will look at the IOU of this box with the remaining boxes and compress the boxes with a high IOU. Okay, I will give you another example here. So let me draw something here. Okay, so we have an object in this position, yeah. This is the object that we want to detect, and this is also the object that we want to detect. So the first one, I have the bounding box in this area. Yeah. So let's assume that this is the bounding box with PC equal 0.95, yeah. Then we have other bounding box here, yeah. So this one has PC values equal 0.8, ya, for example. Then kira-kira yang dihapus yang 0,8 atau 0,95 ini? 0,8, ya. Karena kan kita pilih yang 0,95 ini kan, ya. Terus yang beririsan, yang punya intersection over union dengan bounding box yang punya PC 0.95 ini, kita akan remove gitu, ya. Ini kita remove. Ini kita remove, ya. Ini kita remove, ya. Ini dalam proses training itu bakalan itu apa? Banyak bounding box-nya. Terus ini juga, for example, this one. This is the bounding box that has PC-nya, for example, kita tentukan, kita asumsikan nilainya 0,87. Terus di sini ada itu lagi, PC-nya ini 0,6. Nah, yang dihapus yang 0,6 ini. Yang kita hapus nanti. Jadi yang PC code 0,6 ini kita hapus. Oke. Oke, any question? Ada pertanyaan sampai sini? The next one is about the anchor boxes. Yeah. So actually, we have other problem here. We have seen that each grid can only identify one object, but what if there are multiple objects in a single grid? Yeah, that can so often be the case in reality, and that leads us to the concept of anchor boxes. Consider the following image divided into 3 times 3 grid. Yeah, it is similar with our previous grid. Yeah, we have a 3 times 3 grid. Then we have a problem here. If we uh, uh give the annotation for sorry, if we give the bounding box for this human, yeah, let's say we have two different class, which is human or car, and this is the car, right? There are two grid that contain two object, right? So this one is the grid that contain more than one object, and also this one, the grid contains more than one object, right? So the problem, if we have more than one object inside our grid, we can use the concept of anchor boxes. Anchor boxes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, remember how we assign an object to a grid? We took the midpoint of the object and based on its location, assign the object to the corresponding grid. In the above example, the midpoint of both the object lies in the same grid. This is how the actual bounding boxes for the objects will be. And we will only be getting one of the two boxes, either for the car or for the person. But if we use the anchor boxes, we might be able to output both boxes. Yeah. How do we go about doing this? Yeah. First, we predefine two different shapes called anchor boxes or anchor box shapes. Now, for each grid, instead of having one output, we will have two output. Yeah. We can always increase the number of anchor boxes as well. I have taken two here to make the concept easy to understand. So we have two uh anchor box here. We have a two grid. We have two bounding box, right? This one and this one, right? And what do you think the Y label will be if we have two anchor boxes? I want you to take a moment to ponder this before reading further. Yeah. So actually the label will be like this. So the output, yeah, the output of the particular grid will be like this. We have two different PC, yeah. We have two different PC. We have two different PC, and we also have two different PX, PY, PH, PW, C1, C2, and C3, and so on and so on. So actually, we have two output, yeah, for particular grid. So this one and in this one. It's like concatenate, yeah. It's like a concatenate two different output, right? Jadi nanti outputnya bakalan kalau misalnya kita asumsikan satu grid itu ada lebih dari satu objek, ya berarti output dari satu dari satu grid itu ya seperti ini, dua kali lipatnya, ya. Jadi kayak boxnya itu kita anchor apa ya, digabungkan gitu ya. Okay, the first 8 rows belong to anchor box 1, and the remaining 8 belongs to anchor box 2. The objects are assigned to the anchor boxes based on the similarity of the bounding boxes and the anchor box shape. Since the shape of anchor box 1 is similar to the bounding box for the person, the latter will be assigned to anchor box 1, and the car will be assigned to anchor box 2. The output of this case, instead of 3 times 3 times x, yeah, because in this case we have 3 times secret and 3 classes, so it will be 3 times 3 times 16, yeah, since we are using two anchors. Jadi let's assume that this one is the anchor box for the car, yeah, and yeah, the car, and this one is for the human or the person. Jadi kita gabungkan seperti itu. Okay. So actually, this is the summary of how to use YOLO. Yeah. So it's just a summarization of our discussion before. The input for the training our model will obviously be images and their corresponding Y labels. Let's see an image and make its Y label. Consider the scenario where we are using is 3 times the grid with 2 anchors per grid, and there are 3 different object classes. So the corresponding Y labels will have a shape 3 times 3 times 2 because we define that we have a 2 anchor boxes times 5 plus 3. Yeah. 5 represent the BX, BY, BH, BW, and PC. Plus 3. 3 represent the number of class, right? The new image will be divided into the same number of grid which we have chosen during the training period. For each grid, the model will predict an output of shape 3 times 3 times 16. The 16 values in this prediction will be in the same format as that of the training label. Okay, actually this is just the summarization ya. Oke. Kita langsung coba saja daripada kita terlalu banyak teori ya. Kita langsung implementasikan saja how to use the YOLO V7 ya. So actually this one is the how to download the newest version of YOLO from using the GitHub ya, using the Wongkin Yu account in GitHub. So actually Wongkin Yu is the inventor of YOLO V7 ya. So this one is the framework of YOLO V7. So actually YOLO V7 is not integrated directly with TensorFlow. So we use other outside the TensorFlow framework yeah, which is the GitHub from YOLO V7. And it's actually YOLO V7 is used by PyTorch, not TensorFlow. So the framework that used in YOLO V7 is not TensorFlow but PyTorch yeah. Because the inventor of the YOLO is using the PyTorch framework yeah. Okay, so actually this one is the how to use the YOLO V7 yeah. You can just follow the step yeah here, but actually I have summarized the step of the YOLO V7, how to use the YOLO V7. Okay, I will open my Google Colab here. File, new notebook ya. Wait. Okay. YOLO V7. Wait a minute. Oke, silakan disiapkan dulu Google Colab-nya. Seperti yang tadi saya bilang ya, nanti code-nya itu nggak banyak, kurang lebih mungkin 10 line of code mungkin ya, nggak lebih dari itu. Okay, the first thing that we need to do, we give a text here ya. We in this one we the first step is clone the YOLO V7 from GitHub ya. So we need to clone the GitHub repository ya from Wongkin Yu ya. Wait. Nah, clone the YOLO V7 from GitHub. How to clone it ya? Yeah, it's just an easy step ya. We call the git command, then clone. We can just copying this link ya. So this one we can just copying this This one ya. We copy we copying the original directory from GitHub, from Wonkin U GitHub, then we paste it ya. Okay, then execute our code here. Git clone and the link of the GitHub repository from Wonkin U. Oke. Jadi yang pertama kita lakukan, kita clone dulu ya GitHub-nya, directory dari GitHub dari Wonkin U ini kita clone, nanti otomatis akan terdownload di directory kita sini. Oke. Oke ya. Nah, ini we already clone the GitHub from Wonkin U, right? Okay. Then after we clone the GitHub directory, then we go to the YOLO v7 directory, right? This one, YOLO v7. We change the directory to YOLO v7. So actually, the current directory is in content YOLO v7, right? Then next step ya, the next step is install the requirement, because there are some requirement that we need to prepare for running the YOLO v7. Sudah berhasil clone atau belum? Kalau pakai Jupyter Notebook juga bisa, silakan. Tapi kalau pakai Google Colab kan cloningnya lebih cepat karena dia pakai koneksinya Google kan ya, bukan koneksi internet kita. Kalau Anda cloning dari lokal komputer ya pakai internet kalian gitu ya. Tapi sebenarnya nggak besar juga sih, cuma 60 megabyte ya. Sudah berhasil di-clone? Berhasil ya. Okay, the next step is for installing the requirements. Yeah. To install the requirement, so actually in our directory in YOLO v7, we have the requirements.txt here, right? So this one is the requirement for running the YOLO v7. As you can see here, the version of matplotlib should be 3.2.2, and version of NumPy will be greater than 1.18.5, and so on and so on. Then we need to install all of these requirements. But actually, there is a simple way to install all the requirement. We can just call the pip, yeah, pip install -r requirement.txt. It will install automatically all of the library or package that stated in requirements.txt. So this one, we install the requirements. Okay. So yeah, the requirement already satisfied, and so on and so on. Yeah. Okay, so that's all of the requirement has been installed ya. Oke. Ini sudah. Ya, tinggal pip install -r requirements.txt. It will automatically install all the package that is required for running the YOLO v7. Oke, setelah sudah install, kita download ya, karena sebetulnya ini YOLO v7 itu versinya banyak ya. There are more than one version of YOLO v7. Seperti CNN atau Transfer Learning, kita punya MobileNet ya, terus kita punya ResNet, kita punya VGG dan lain sebagainya. YOLO v7 juga punya seperti itu. Jadi dia punya arsitektur dari yang paling simple ke yang paling kompleks ya, tergantung apa yang mau kita deteksi objeknya. Semakin kompleks arsitekturnya ya, computational cost-nya juga semakin tinggi. Oke, jadi di sini saya coba gunakan salah satu yang simple saja, yang ringan saja. Oke, jadi step 3 saya di sini tuliskan aja step 3-nya ini download the wake model. Jadi ini kita prosesnya bukan training dulu, tapi testing dulu. Jadi testing dulu baru nanti kita training karena yang simple kan testing dulu ya. So it's like we download the pre-train model, ya. Download the wake model. Jadi di sini saya akan download model yang sudah di-train gitu ya. Oke, so we can just call the widget ya, widget. Bentar, bisa copy paste kayak di sini ya. YOLO. Oke, ini saya download yang ini ya. Jadi sebetulnya YOLO ini sudah di-train. YOLO yang di GitHub-nya Wongkin Yu ini secara default dia sudah di-train, tapi menggunakan dataset untuk itu ya, untuk mendeteksi mobil. Ya, pokoknya mendeteksi beberapa kelas ya, sebentar. Ini kayaknya nggak bisa. Oke, saya tulis manual aja. https github.com Wongkin, atau mungkin di sini bisa di copy ya. Bentar. Ini saya copy saja. Copy link address ya. Widget itu untuk download ya. Oh ya, bisa ya. Nah, jadi ini kita download yang YOLO V7 E6 ya. We download di YOLO V7 E6. Kita download yang ini dulu. Jadi ini dia sudah di-train untuk studi kasus mendeteksi beberapa kelas ya. Saya nggak hafal kelasnya apa saja, tapi nanti kita lihat. Oke, you can just call the wget ya, and then paste the link of the wake model. Jadi ini you can just right click on this link, copy link address, then call the widget, then paste the link ya, then execute the code. Oke. It's around 186 megabyte ya. As you can see here, we already has the wake models. Ya, YOLO V7 -e6.pt. .pt it means this is the wake model ya, pre-trained model. Pre-trained model. Any problem? Ini kita dulu itunya apa namanya, pre-trained model ini sudah di-train untuk mendeteksi kalau nggak salah itu objek-objek di jalan raya, bisa jadi mobil, motor. Jadi kita belum train ya, kita inference. Okay, after we download the wake model, then the next step is download the image that will be classified or detect the object inside it. So the next step is for download the image that will be classified. Okay, I will copy the link here. Wait a minute. I will copy the link for the dataset ya. Okay, I already sent the link ya. I already sent the link from in Google Chat ya. Wait, you can just call this function. Okay. copy, then we download that image ya using the widget command ya. Oke. Okay, we already download the image and put it into our directory here, main.cv ya. Jadi ini kita akan mendeteksi objek yang ada di gambar ini. Nanti apa saja kelasnya nanti kita lihat ya. Oke, ini masih adan. Kita itu dulu apa? Break dulu ya. Nanti kita lanjut lagi. Lanjut ya. Ini kita sudah download image-nya. Terus langkah selanjutnya kita akan prediksi ya. The next step is for detecting the object inside the image ya. So actually we can just call this function ya, this command ya. Yang dari GitHub-nya Wongkin Yu tadi di bagian testing ini kita tinggal copy saja. Ini kita copy. Copy. Terus kita paste di sini. Nah, python.test.py terus bentar. Oh, bukan ini. Bentar, saya coba cek dulu di sini. Inference. Oh, ini. Nah, ini. Ini kita copy. Ini kita copy yang yourvideo.mp4. Nanti kita ganti nama filenya ya. Ini kita ganti source-nya, ini kita ganti dengan main.jpg tadi ya. main.cafe.jpg. Oke ya. Nah, ini wake-nya kita bisa ganti detect. Ini kita hapus saja. Image size-nya sama conv-nya ini kita hapus saja, nggak apa-apa. Wake-nya ini kita gunakan yang sudah kita download tadi. YOLO v7e6e.pt. Ini kita sesuaikan dengan arsitektur yang sudah kita download ya. Because we use the YOLO v7e6e wake ya. Nah, ini kita jangan lupa dikasih tanda seru ya, because we call the command, Python command ya, seperti ini. Ini ya. Nah, ini kita eksekusi. Bentar, tadi kita sudah download ya YOLO E. Oh, sebentar, ini harusnya YOLO min 6 gini ya, nggak pakai. Oke, nggak apa-apa, sudah terlanjur. Kita stop aja ya, sebentar. Ini ada yang salah tadi. YOLO v7e6pt ya. Ini harusnya. Karena kita sudah download sebelumnya. Ya, it's require. Oh iya, tadi saya lupa. Harusnya runtime-nya saya ubah ke GPU ya. Biar lebih cepat. Saya lupa tadi. Oke, nggak apa-apa. Ini tadi tersimpannya di sini ya. Runs, di folder runs detect exp2 man.cafe.jpg. Jadi di runs detect exp2 ini setiap kali kita inference bakalan muncul satu folder baru sini. Nah, ini hasil deteksinya. Nah, ini sudah kelihatan ya. Ada person, ada laptop, ada TV ya. Ada buku ya. Ada laptop juga di sini. Oke, ini saya coba ubah dulu runtime-nya ke GPU biar lebih cepat ya. Oh, sebentar. Saya hapus yang enggak itu dulu. Terminate. Oke. Oke, saya run ulang lagi ini harusnya. Oke, nggak apa-apa. Oke, maybe any question? Bisa? Gampang ya maksudnya. Berarti otomatis di folder runs detect XP nanti. Itu nanti ini masih proses inference ya, kita masih belum proses training. Setelah ini kita akan train YOLO-nya itu pakai custom dataset nanti setelah ini. Oke, bagaimana kalau inputnya video ya? Nah, video kita bisa coba itu ya, download videonya nanti sebentar. Nah, tidak hanya gambar yang bisa kita deteksi objeknya ya, video juga bisa. Saya upload dulu videonya di sini ya. Nah ini, bisa nggak ya upload video di sini? Downloads street. Ini saya kirim gambar video di sini ya. Kok gambar video apa? File video. Nanti kita coba inference hasilnya seperti apa. Oke, I already upload the street.mp4 ya. So you can download from Google Chat. Then the next step is upload our dataset inside the YOLO V7 folder. Jadi ini saya upload di sini. Oke. While we waiting the uploading process, we can just copy our previous code here for the inferencing the object detection. Then we can just change this files into street.mp4. Street.mp4. I think we already successfully upload the street.mp4 is already uploaded in my directory in Google Colab. Then we can just call execute this code, and it will detecting the object inside our directory in Google Colab ya. It will be longer than before because we detecting the object in video, not only in image ya. So that's why the inferencing process will be longer than before. Yeah, actually, so it will detect the object frame by frame. Yeah, as you can see here, it contain around 469 frame, right? Okay. I think the process is already complete. Then we can just go to the run directory, detect exp exp2 ya, in exp2 because I restart my runtime, so the exp it contain the main cafe that and EXP2 it's the street.mp4 ya. So you can just download it. Okay. I think the downloading process is long ya. So actually I already download from my previous experiment ya. So street.mp4 street. Ini proses downloadnya lebih lama kayaknya. Tapi saya sudah pernah download sebelumnya ya. Ini this is the result ya. As you can see here, we have a video that contain some object ya inside it. Then it is automatically detect the object ya. The moving object is successfully detected, right? Nah, ini ya. Nah, ini YOLO V7 menurut pengamatan saya jauh lebih bagus daripada YOLO versi sebelumnya. Jadi ini. Jadi untuk deteksi objek pun dia di video dia juga bagus ya. Tapi ya cost-nya tinggi tadi ya. Tidak, yang video bisa ya agak lama kan. Ini kita masih belum train ya. Kita masih belum train modelnya. Ini setelah ini kita train. Oke, sambil menunggu ya. Kita masuk ke training proses saja dulu ya. Oke, yang kita lakukan, kita bisa, we can use a public dataset ya, from RoboFlow. RoboFlow. You can just search on the Google, RoboFlow. It's like a Kaggle ya. It contains a lot of public datasets that specify on the object detection problem ya. Kalau di Kaggle kan macam-macam ya. Kalau di RoboFlow ini, dia datasetnya itu only for object detection. Okay. You can go to the product menu and then universe ya. Product universe. Yeah. And we will download the dataset from here. Search dataset. Okay. So we use this dataset ya. I will copy the address ya. This is the Arial Airport dataset which contains the airport that is captured by drone camera ya. Jadi ini kita punya dataset untuk nanti kita mendeteksi lokasi pesawat di airport. Ini linknya saya copy saja. Saya copy di Google Colab ya. Sorry, Google Chat ya. Copy link address. Oke. Nah, itu Arial Airport ya. Itu you can download. Ya, download this dataset. I think you need to login first ya for downloading the dataset. So, yeah, you can just download it. The dataset you need to download it. Then we download zip to computer ya. Yeah, we can use the YOLO V7 PyTorch ya. The format we choose the YOLO V7 PyTorch. Then download into our computer. Okay, done. Okay. I already download it, yeah. It's around 43.2 megabyte, yeah. So because I already download it, so I can just cancel the downloading process. Sudah di-download belum datasetnya? Yang dari RoboFlow tadi? Atau gini saja, yang RoboFlow tadi saya share saja langsung datasetnya ya di mana di Google Chat ya. Tadi namanya Aerial ya, Aerial. Nah ini aerial.zip ini. Dan masih uploading ya. Yang video sudah berhasil di inference? Sudah ya, bisa ya. Saya ganti koneksi saya, kayaknya lemot ini tadi. Aerial.zip ini kita upload. Ini proses trainingnya lumayan lama, jadi kayaknya kalau kita jalankan sekarang nanti lama nanti sebentar. Tapi nggak apa-apa, ini saya uploadin dulu datasetnya. Nanti kan kita bagi jadi dua pertemuan ya untuk YOLO ini. Kita mungkin hari ini kita belajar inference-nya dulu. Nanti next week we will learn how to train di dataset ya. Atau nanti mungkin saya akan bikinkan video dulu sebelum minggu depan. Nanti waktu kuliah langsung bisa dicoba gitu ya. Oke, saya sudah uploadkan dataset aerialnya. Itu Anda bisa download dulu. Ini kayaknya nanti bakalan nama proses trainingnya ya. Jadi mungkin saya upload dulu datasetnya tadi. Nanti minggu depan kita coba akan train pakai dataset itu. Yang video kemarin, yang video gimana? Sudah berhasil? Ternyata kita bisa pakai olah dari bisa. Olah dari bisa. Saya malah tahu dari itu. Apa mau boleh dari? Ya, pakai itu. Kalau saya kemarin pakai ini, sebenarnya saya bisa pakai lagu dulu, saya bisa pakai itu. Nanti kalau bisa kita tentukan mau pakai itu. Jadi kalau bisa dari itu, dari itu. Jadi kamu dulu, kamu upload nanti kamu lewat satu-satu, nanti kita berikan satu itu juga. Karena yang ini yang komputer vision plus itu saya pakai di Pak. Katanya masih belum saya coba. Kalau pakai kalau bisa, saya kemarin itu misalnya nggak ada betul adanya Aku pakai apa? Di luar di posisi. Katanya oh, tapi itu kalau kita ganti nomornya kamu tulisan nomor. Jadi itu dipakai itu. Iya, ini minggu depan kita belajar cara olah ya. Kita nanti kasih kode. Dari itu kita kasih kode. Kan nomor mana? Kita kasih kode buat nomornya. Kita deteksi. Terus ada tahapan selanjutnya kalau ya kamu harus ekstra tulisannya. Jadi setelah dideteksi objeknya kamu klasifikasi. I think that's all for our class today, yeah, because the training process will be long, so I will explain to you next week, yeah, about how to give the label into our image, yeah. Then, okay. Okay, Luki, is there any question? No?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. So I will end this class, yeah. Thank you for your attention. We will meet next week and continue discussing about how to train our YOLO version 7 model using custom dataset, yeah. Okay, thank you. I will end this meeting.